Before he was a tyrant, he was a child locked inside a palace full of predators. Moscow, 1500s. The Kremlin wasn't a home, it was a cage made of stone and whispers. Ivan was born into power, but not into safety. His father died while Ivan was still small. Then his mother, suddenly gone too. And in the silence that followed, the men around the throne began to hunt. The boy watched nobles smile in daylight and sharpen knives at night. They fought over him like wolves fighting over a carcass. They ignored him, mocked him, starved him of dignity. He learned early that love was temporary, but fear was reliable. And something inside the child hardened. Some say he found comfort in prayer. Others say he found it in cruelty, testing how easily life could be broken. Either way, one lesson became his blood. If you want to survive, you must never look weak. So Ivan waited, quiet, observing, remembering faces. Then at 16, he did something unprecedented. He didn't just become Grand Prince. He crowned himself Tsar, a title that tasted like empire. It was a message to every noble in Russia. I'm not your puppet, I'm your fate. At first, he looked like a reformer. Courts were reorganized, laws tightened, the state became more centralized. Russia began to move like a single machine. But machines still run on fuel, and Ivan's fuel was suspicion. War pressed in from the borders, plots grew in the corridors. When his beloved wife died, grief turned into something darker, a certainty that the world was poisoning everything he touched. After that, Ivan didn't just rule Russia, he interrogated it. He began to see betrayal everywhere, in a boyar's silence, in a priest's hesitation, in the way a servant blinked. And when you believe enemies are everywhere, mercy feels like suicide. That's when he created his shadow, the Oprichnina, a separate domain, a separate army. Men dressed in black, riding through towns like a moving curse. They carried symbols of their purpose, to sniff out treason, to sweep it away. But treason became a word that meant whatever Ivan needed it to mean. A rumor could be treason, a complaint could be treason, a memory could be treason. The terror wasn't only punishment, it was theater. Because Ivan understood something brutal. Fear spreads faster than truth. Cities learned to obey before they even understood the command. And then came Novgorod, rich, proud, and accused of betrayal. Ivan marched in like Judgment Day. Interrogations, executions, confessions ripped out of people who didn't even know what crime they were confessing to. The message was simple. No place was too important to bleed. Inside the Kremlin, Ivan's mind became a battlefield. He could be intensely religious, then violently profane, tender one moment, monstrous the next. He wrote prayers and ordered deaths in the same breath. Power didn't calm his fear. Power amplified it. Because the higher you stand, the more shadows you can see. And Ivan was surrounded by shadows. In the end, his greatest tragedy wasn't what he did to enemies. It was what he did to his own blood. One day, in a storm of rage, some say over politics, some say over family honor, Ivan struck his own son, the heir. The room went silent. Then came the horror. The wound was fatal. The Tsar, who terrified kingdoms, looked down at the result of his own hand and realized he had murdered the future. For all his armies, all his prisons, all his prayers, he couldn't command time to reverse. Years later, when Ivan finally died, Russia did not exhale into peace. It stumbled into chaos, because fear can build a throne, but it cannot build stability. Ivan the Terrible didn't become a monster overnight. He was forged, slowly, by betrayal, neglect, paranoia, and absolute power. He is remembered as a tyrant, but the darker truth is this: he was a boy who learned that love disappears. and decided fear would never leave him. And once fear becomes your only companion, you don't rule a nation, you haunt it. History remembers power, but it never forgets pride. Subscribe and uncover the rulers who rose, ruled, and fell into darkness.